Welcome to Intelligence of Luxury, the podcast brought to you by Data&Data.
So let's start with a mental image. If I ask you to picture a luxury flagship store, your mind probably jumps straight to a certain aesthetic.
Oh, absolutely. It's the spectacular architecture, the commissioned art,
The vast marble floors.
huge marble floors, exactly, an atmosphere that's just designed to project, unparalleled wealth.
For decades, that was the whole game. Pure retail theater, a really costly exercise in spectacle.
But those days are, well, they're over.
They really are. The luxury landscape is seeing this strategic revolution. We've moved way beyond pure retail. So our mission today is to analyze this shift. We want to show you exactly why flagships are no longer just massive storefronts. They are now strategic statements. They're the most accurate barometers of a brand's health, their audience focus, and where they really believe future value is.
And that transformation is absolutely critical for understanding the business of luxury today. I mean, the physical store is now less like a cash register and much, much more like a market intelligence tool.
So if you want to know where a brand is willing to plant a stake.
A massive long-term stake, yeah. Absorbing multi-million-dollar commitments. You just look at where they build and how they build it. Their physical presence says everything about their confidence.
Okay, let's unpack that. Our first section. The strategic shift from having a big physical footprint to establishing a valuable strategic foothold.
It's a really crucial distinction. The sheer volume of square footage, the footprint, it just matters so much less now.
Less than the strategy behind it.
Exactly. Less than the intelligence and the intentionality behind the location and the design.
I mean, in an age where every product is available online instantly, why are these expensive physical stores still so vital?
Because they serve strategic purposes that digital channels just fundamentally cannot replicate. First, they're just powerful signals. When a brand commits to a 10-year lease for a huge custom-designed store in a hyper-prime location, like Manhattan's Fifth Avenue.
Or Seoul's Gyeongdam district.
Right. It signals this unwavering long-term belief in that market's potential. It's a statement of permanent authority, stability.
So it's a commitment device. They're showing they aren't going anywhere.
Precisely.
And that they trust the local economy enough to invest huge amounts of, well, non-liquid capital.
Exactly. And secondly, these flagships offer essential end-to-end control.
Control over what, specifically?
Over the merchandise curation, absolute control over pricing consistency globally, which is much harder than it sounds.
I can imagine.
And complete control over the physical environment. And that environment is essential for maintaining that perception of exclusivity. It drives their entire business model.
You can't control the atmosphere on a third-party website.
Not a chance. But you control everything inside those flagship walls.
And that control is what allows them to turn the store into an experience hub. It's not just a place to buy things anymore, it's a place to be the brand.
Absolutely. They function as these critical hubs for holistic, immersive experiences. And this is where the commitment level really, really shows. We're seeing a huge proliferation of flagships that incorporate sophisticated lifestyle elements. Michelin-star dining, curated art exhibitions, world-class spas.
Private salons for top clients.
All of it. The core transaction becomes secondary. The main goal is building long-term loyalty and, crucially, generating engagement data.
Okay, but if the transaction is secondary, the financial commitment must be enormous. The sources say leading luxury houses are actively doubling down, right? Pouring capital into these projects while cutting costs elsewhere.
They are.
Doesn't that risk-reward balance seem a little skewed?
It might seem skewed if you just view it as a quarterly retail expense, sure.
Yeah.
But the leadership sees it differently. They recognize that while you can afford to cut costs on, say, back-office operations or smaller shops, you cannot afford to cut costs on brand perception and authority.
Because the flagship reinforces the entire brand narrative.
Yes. It justifies the price premium across every other channel. So the cost is justified as, like, long-term marketing and intelligence gathering.
If the commitment is that high, let's look at where they're actually planting those flags. That brings us to the real-world trends and these huge experiential investments we're seeing. Where should we start? Geographic strategy.
Let's. The precision here is paramount, and the clearest illustration is the strategic shift happening in China.
Right. For years, the story was aggressive expansion into lower-tier cities.
It was. But now we are seeing a really distinct withdrawal from those locations. Brands are concluding that overextension just dilutes the exclusivity. It stretches their resources too thin.
So instead of a mass market approach, they're focusing only on the top-tier megacities. Less volume, more impact.
Precisely. They are refocusing those investments exclusively on places like Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen. And in those cities, the experiential concept flagship is the key strategy.
To revive engagement.
To revive engagement and justify the premium. These stores aren't transactional outposts. They're cultural spaces. They're designed to merge art, hospitality, storytelling. They have to convince a very sophisticated audience that a trip to the store is worth it.
Wait, if they pull out of those lower-tier cities, aren't they just abandoning a potential future consumer? How do they nurture brand awareness there without a physical presence?
That's a sharp question. The answer is digital cultivation. The high-impact flagship in Shanghai provides the aspirational content, the exhibitions, the exclusive collections, which is then amplified through targeted digital channels to those regional audiences.
Ah, so the physical store generates the prestige.
Then the digital channels handle the scale and communication. And eventually the sale. It becomes a tiered strategy. Physical for prestige, digital for reach.
That makes perfect sense. The gravity of the flagship pulls the entire digital halo effect along with it. And we've seen some incredible examples of this in the West, too.
Absolutely. Just look at what Dior did with their immense new New York flagship.
The luxury spa.
A full luxury spa. That is a strategic investment in, well, sustained leisure and wellness. You can spend an afternoon there without buying a single thing, but you leave feeling connected to the brand.
And it's not just Dior. Miu Miu recently opened a major new flagship in London.
Designed as a specialized cultural meeting point. And Hermès just finished a huge redesign of its flagship in the Seoul's Gangnam district. A massive focus on high-end luxury there.
And we saw Louis Vuitton combine two strategies in Shanghai. A massive new flagship and a huge OMA-designed exhibition space.
The pattern is clear. Every single one of these examples focuses heavily on experience and story rather than size alone. The mandate has shifted. It's not about having the biggest store anymore.
It's about being the most memorable, the most culturally relevant.
Exactly. The depth of connection, not the breadth of inventory.
This requires discipline, though. So let's talk about what the sources are calling smart brands, the ones applying real market intelligence to their physical presence. This is section 3. The tactical shifts they're making to protect quality and control.
Right. And these tactical shifts are all about cutting the operational noise while amplifying the prestige. First, let's look at scaling and location. They're actively scaling back the underperforming shops and concentrating investment in these globally recognized prestige districts.
We mentioned Seoul's Cheongdam, London's West End.
New York's Fifth Avenue. The strategy is to maximize the impact of a few high-value locations. It guarantees you're next to high-net-worth clients, and you get massive international visibility.
Okay, so what's changing inside the stores? You mentioned they're reducing inventory volume. What does that actually look like?
This is critical. They're replacing those old-school transactional layouts, the ones designed to just push high volume, with experiential environments designed for lingering.
And the inventory.
They are aggressively reducing what we call SKU overload, stock keeping unit overload.
So fewer items on display.
Way fewer. Historically, the goal was to showcase everything. Now they favor a curated, location-specific assortment. Reducing SKU overload means less clutter and a higher perceived scarcity. You might find a unique colorway or a limited edition piece that's only in the New York store. You can't get it in London.
So the physical location becomes more like a curated gallery, not a giant warehouse.
That's the perfect analogy. And this requires really careful market intelligence to select the right product mix for each city's unique demographic.
The scarcity itself becomes part of the marketing.
Exactly. Which ties into the third tactical shift, marketing focus. Instead of budgeting massive amounts for broad, generalized advertising, smart brands are amplifying the flagship story itself. The bespoke architecture, the integration of local culture, the designer collaborations, the flagship is the marketing narrative.
So it generates its own media coverage, its own social media moments just by existing.
Right. The cost of generating interest in the space is literally baked into the high-end design of the space itself. It's a really clever long-term efficiency play.
So for our listener, let's make this actionable. We want you to be able to read the tea leaves when you see a big luxury announcement. That's section 4, reading the signals. How can you track a brand's confidence just by watching its flagships?
There are 5 major signals that reveal a brand's strategic health. First, as we've said, the location and timing of openings. A major new build in a top-tier district is the strongest possible signal of commitment.
Okay, what's second?
Second, experiential content. Don't just look at if they have a cafe, look at the quality of it. Are they bringing in a known high-end chef? Are the art exhibitions genuinely museum quality? These things add significant operational costs, but brands accept it because it enhances perception, justifies higher prices, and boosts loyalty. It makes the consumer feel elevated.
And you mentioned exclusive products.
That's the third indicator. Exclusive offerings. When a brand ties limited edition products specifically to a flagship opening, it directly strengthens desirability and collectability. It gives you a real reason to go to the physical space.
And if the transaction is secondary, how do we measure success?
That's the fourth indicator. Conversion metrics. Conversion isn't just pure sales anymore. Success is measured by tracking things like time spent in the store, event RSVPs, appointment bookings for the spa,
Data capture, client profiling.
all of it. Visibility is only valuable if that high traffic translates into strong downstream sales and lets the brand command a price premium.
That's the last one.
The final indicator is brand spillover. This is crucial for understanding the wider business impact. Flagships influence perception in ways that are easily measurable now. Their success demonstrably affects search trends for the brand globally. It even boosts resale values on the secondary market.
So if the flagship radiates authority.
That authority spills over into the digital sphere. It makes the product more valuable, even secondhand.
That's a perfect transition. The physical store is actively driving digital desirability. Which brings us to section 5, the digital imperative and potential risks. How much does a spectacular store matter if the digital reality is, inconsistent?
It matters very little. The physical presence is negated instantly if the digital perception tells a contradictory story.
Consumers are savvy.
Ruthlessly savvy. They can compare prices, check availability, track new releases instantly. So forward-looking brands have to synchronize everything. Prices, collections, storytelling.
From the Fifth Avenue flagship all the way to
A major online retailer like Farfetch, all channels have to be aligned. This synchronicity is essential. It strengthens trust and brand coherence. And when that alignment is perfect, you reinforce the brand's authority, which is a vital defense mechanism against the gray market and unauthorized resellers.
So if the flagship communicates maximum value, resellers have a much harder time undercutting you.
Exactly, because the consumer trusts the primary source.
The new strategy demands that every touchpoint speaks the same language of value, or the multi-million-dollar investment is just wasted. But these are huge investments. They carry huge risks. The sources detail several watch points for us, signs a brand might have miscalculated. What are the biggest pitfalls?
The sources highlight 4 major risks. First, overcapacity. Luxury relies on scarcity, right?
Right.
Opening too many large, visible stores, even in top cities, can dilute that exclusivity. It creates a feeling of ubiquity, which erodes desire.
And the second one?
The dreaded experience gap. This is a massive failure. You invest millions in stunning architecture, but the in-store service is poor or inconsistent.
The sales associate doesn't know the product history.
Or the digital booking system for the spa fails. That gap between the spectacular architecture and the reality of the service, it shatters credibility faster than anything.
That's a huge operational vulnerability. What else?
Pricing consistency. If prices vary wildly between the flagship and the brand's own website, consumer trust just erodes rapidly.
Consistency is the foundation of authority.
Absolutely. And finally, many of these prestige districts are highly tourism dependent. So shifts in international travel, geopolitical instability, or currency fluctuations can drastically impact the performance of these huge fixed assets. So to synthesize everything we've discussed, the significance of the luxury flagship has completely changed. They are now essential indicators of brand vitality. They reinforce heritage, craftsmanship, exclusivity, and, critically, they generate essential data on customer engagement.
And we noted their impact on pricing power. That's a huge driver for their profitability.
Yes. For high-value categories like watches, fine jewelry, leather goods, a well-executed flagship enhances perceived value and reinforces pricing integrity. And they serve as these vital testing grounds for new services, new tech, new experiences that might later be rolled out more broadly. They are the R&D lab for the future of luxury.
So the core message here is that brands that treat these spaces as just cost centers, somewhere to sell product, are fighting a losing battle. The winners are the ones who view flagships as living expressions of identity, as intelligence-gathering operations, and as valuable strategic footholds for long-term growth.
Absolutely. Flagships still matter deeply in the age of digital dominance. but only when they mirror what the data already knows. That precision, unwavering consistency, and compelling, authentic storytelling build exponentially more long-term value than marble and gold plating ever will. That's the signal you should be watching.
Podcast brought to you by Data&Data. Here, we decode the world of luxury, from online sales and secondary market shifts to brand strategies and cultural trends shaping tomorrow. Whether you're a brand leader, industry insider, or simply curious about how luxury evolves, this is where insights meet intelligence. Stay tuned.